Welcome into the LFC Transfer Room. I'm Jack, joined here today by Adam. He's making his LFC Transfer Room video debut. Joined as a writer just a few weeks ago, and he's going to be joining us now for his debut live stream here ahead of Liverpool versus Newcastle, starting in about 58 minutes. Adam, first of all, how you doing, mate?
Man, I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on. First of all, I'm here in Dublin, so it's a lovely sunny day for the first time in probably about I don't know, maybe 10 months. So yeah, it's a great day to be watching football. I've no doubt that it's probably scorching over in England as well at the moment. So, but yeah, delighted to be on. Looking forward to chatting. Team looks interesting anyway.
Yeah, you guys are lucky with the sun. Here in America, we're waiting about another hour or two. 6:30 a.m. for us here. But we're very excited. Let us know in the comments. Team news coming out just a few minutes ago. The big notable one is the front four. I believe this is the first time they start a match. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but since Jota's been signed, don't recall them playing together. Let me know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I think it could be right there. I remember I could have been a couple of weeks back. It was about 30 minutes left in the game. I can't for the life of me remember the game, but I think Firmino was dropped a bit deeper in the midfield and Jota was playing as well. So the front four, that was the first time that I seen them together. It's definitely interesting. Like I'm all for this, mate. I'm delighted with this because I think it may take a while to actually, get like used to the adjustment, the starting 11 with a front four there. But I think Firmino, that role for him is hugely important because I think, like as we've seen in the last kind of season, the last 18 months, I think he's struggling more in that front three role. So I think a role in midfield, just sitting behind the front three, if that's how they're going to go with it, is really perfect. So yeah, I'm all for this front four, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. I was speculated that maybe Ben Davies could make his debut today, but he doesn't even make the bench. So he's well and truly just kind of buried. Jota wasn't in two training, as Black Hammer mentions, wasn't in some training, coming in not 100% fit. Do you like if he's obviously not 100% fit? Would you have preferred seeing him come off the bench as an impact sub, knowing that he's not at 100%?
You know what? I think if it was a couple of weeks ago, I might have said maybe yeah. But the fact that we're in a stage now where we're essentially, as we all keep saying it, we're playing like 5 cup finals now. So I think if there's any chance that anyone is going to be fit in any way, we should be playing them, and I think Klopp's very adamant that like he'll only play players if they feel up for it themselves, and I think he's definitely ready to play, even if he might not be up to full fitness. So yeah, I think the stage of the season we're in, yeah, it probably is maybe the best option to start him.
So obviously another big change, or I don't want to call it a change, but so the only switch from Monday is Milner out for Salah. But this means that Fabinho is going to remain at center back as opposed to playing maybe Reece Williams there as I think the only other option. Would you rather have seen Fabinho back in the midfield than Williams at center back?
As much as I would love to see Fabinho just carry on in midfield for the rest of the season, I think Williams, and no disrespect to him, I just don't think he's up to the level yet. I think he has bags of potential to play, in the future and be like still be with us. But I think at the moment, like I said, just given the stage of the season we're in and the importance of the games we're playing, yeah, I just think it's probably a safer bet to have Fabinho back there. And like you mentioned, Davies isn't even on the bench, which is, I suppose, a telltale sign. I heard someone mention the URA made a comment saying it's almost like he's a hologram. Like him and Kostas Tsimikas are like holograms because we just don't see them play, but we know they're there. So, but yeah, I think yeah, it's just to be safe, just obviously given the extent of the games in the next few weeks. Yeah, it's probably a safer bet having Fabinho there than Williams at the moment.
Do we know that they're actually real? Have we ever seen that in real life, or are we sure that they're not just made up for some PR?
I want to see someone just as they're stretching to like just put their hand on their shoulder just for balance, just to make sure that they're real, that we know they're there. I just want to see that like during a game.
It'd be nice to know that they actually are around. I mean, I agree with you that I think Fabinho looks tremendous when he's in the midfield. But I mean, again, it's just a case of there's going to be the 2016 mantra where it's just attack because we can't defend.
Yeah,
And so we're going to be a bit more open at the back than we usually would be, but it's going to be with at least a front four there. And you mentioned Firmino earlier. I think he's going to be a really, really key part of this match. Playing as a 10, most likely, probably not going to be leading the line, is going to be big for him because I think he can. He has three great finishers around him, and he won't be as burdened in that. So obviously, let us know in the comments your thoughts on that lineup. Thoughts on Ibrahimovic Konate. Rumors yesterday that he's going to be potentially signed for on a permanent deal this summer. Let's talk about that a little bit because obviously he knows how to play in the center of defense, and we don't have many of those players that are fit that can do that right now. I want to know your thoughts on if Konate would be a signing that you would get behind should he come to Anfield.
Yeah, like again, it's kind of not in the sense maybe a perfect signing, because I don't know a lot about him personally. I know he's had kind of injury troubles in the last season, and there's been talks about, is he injury prone and stuff like that, and they've kind of been, squashed, and now it's just a coincidence, everything like that. Like he's been carrying an injury for a while, but look, he's what, 20, 21, 22. He's a young guy, he's big, he's strong, he looks like he has the potential to be a similar type of player to Virgil van Dijk. I'm not going to say, he is going to reach that level. I think, you can't really say that when it's Van Dijk, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting signing. What kind of interests me about it more is not that he's coming in. I think I'd welcome, Konate signing, but it's more who's going to be going out. Because like if Konate signs, we're in a situation there where we have 7 or 8 senior centre halves in the squad, and like as we know at the moment, like the 2 or 3 of them that are there are virtually never on the bench. So it's going to be interesting to see who's actually going out. I mean, I actually think, funny enough, I had a conversation with a mate of mine who's also a Liverpool supporter that we could see Davies going. And that sounds crazy because we just bought him, but it's one of these things. It just seems like he was bought as a kind of placeholder, and so it's going to be interesting. Like I'm more interested to see who's going to be going out. But I think, given Matip's injury record, given like Williams just inexperience, and Phillips and Davies, it could be 3 of them. I mean, out of the 4 that I just mentioned there, I would probably prefer to keep Nat Phillips. I think he's kind of improved huge in the last season. But yeah, it's definitely a strange one, as we have just purchased 2 centre backs and we look like we're going to buy Kabak permanently. So
yeah, I mean, I remember when we were signing Davies, he was heavily linked to joining Celtic. I think he had agreed personal terms.
yeah,
He had been agreed. I wouldn't be surprised if we sold him to them for about £12 million in the summer. Just try and make 6-1 profit on him in just a few months' time. I think that's going to be probably what happens there. I don't know if you mentioned it, but I mean, I'll look in this comment from Blackhammer that is it Konate or Kabak? Is it case you have to choose one or the other? Obviously, 35 million euros is the release clause for Konate. 18 million pounds is the release clause for Kabak. So obviously not the most pricey of transfers, but it's a case of we may have to choose one or the other. Would you want to sign both Kabak and Konate, or if you had to choose at a stretch, just one out of the 2, who would you be taking?
I would probably, at the moment, I would choose Kabak, just because we know Kabak. He's played for us. We know what he can do, and obviously he needs improvement in a lot of areas. But again, he's a young guy, so that's going to come with experience. But I think, like for me personally, like I said, we could have 7, 8 like centre half. I think we should have no less than 5 senior centre halves going to next season, just based off the crisis that happened at the start of the year. So I think we definitely don't want to be risking it too much. So I mean, I think a deal could be already done for Kabak. It just hasn't really been talked about. I think it's something that they probably discussed in January. But I wouldn't be surprised if we seen both of them coming in. But at the moment, I would probably, if I had had to choose between the two, it would be Kabak, just because we know more about him.
I agree. I think that Davies is already in. He's not with us anymore. He's already preparing for his transfer in the summer. He's already preparing to make us some money. I would love to see both of them, because if we almost, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. If we go into next season with a lack of depth at center back yet again, and a center back depth that is injury prone, I'm just going to have no sympathy for Klopp when he talks about injuries to center backs and things like that. Let's talk about the Newcastle lineup a little bit. I don't know a ton about them. All I know is that they have been, I think, underwhelming this season compared to where they should be with the amount of talent that they have. Currently residing in 15th place on the back of 2 wins to pull themselves from right on the doorstep of relegation ahead of Fulham to now being 8 clear of the drop. They have Joelinton, St. Maximin, Marone, as I think they're going to be their front 3, something like that. What do you know about Newcastle, and what kind of scares you ahead of the match?
I think St. Maximin is a player that is going to cause like a lot of teams trouble. I think he seems to be that player that Newcastle, has in their arsenal that can get them out of a lot of tight spots. I know, like him and Callum Wilson, if it probably wasn't for them, like they might not be in the position they are now. And I know they're still not like totally safe, but like it could be a different situation. They could be bottom of the table without those 2 players. So there is that danger there. I think if Wilson did you mention if Wilson was starting there?
Wilson is on the bench.
Wilson's on the bench. I think it probably suits us in a way. I think Wilson would have been a handful for Kabak and Phillips, just for his pace. But I think the fact that Fabinho's there, it could, suit us a bit better, and obviously Phillips isn't starting. Like Newcastle, I kind of have to feel sorry for Newcastle fans. It's a situation again where, they're just kind of hanging around the same spot on the table, and they obviously like had that disappointing news earlier on the season that they weren't the Premier League was going to essentially squash any chance that they have of being taken over by trillionaires, billionaires, whatever it is. I think Newcastle fans, I kind of feel sorry for. They're in a position at the moment where it's kind of just stuck again, and I know a lot of them are critical of Steve Bruce. Look, I mean, I think Newcastle will do what Newcastle will do, and they'll stay up just because they'll get a few decent results, towards the end of the season, and teams below them will just be that much worse. I would be kind of worried, like I said, the likes of St. Maximin, players like that. But again, I think regardless of what form Liverpool are in, and we can't really talk about like on paper anymore, because that means literally nothing, especially for us this season. But I think regardless of what form we're in at the moment, we should be beating Newcastle. We don't have to be saying like, oh, we're going to go out and put 5 goals past them, but it's definitely a game we should be coming out getting 3 points from.
100% agree. I mean, it since the Burnley match, West Brom, Fulham, the last few months where we've just struggled to even look decent against these lower table sides. I hope that we're able to be a bit more creative with Firmino, because usually against a low block we'll struggle, and they're going to try and play on the break most likely. They have started a pretty, not negative side, but a side that isn't going to be as outgoing, I guess. No Willock for them. I was reading some of the comments, and they're not happy with the lineup. I think that was the biggest one. A guy who can play on the break like that. So definitely, I think an advantage in terms of the 11s out there, obviously. You mentioned the ownership. Obviously, Mike Ashley, and just not a good situation there for Newcastle fans. For us Liverpool fans, we have a ownership situation of our own brewing. We avoided, I think, the hardcore protests that Arsenal saw yesterday, that I think United will see later today. Where do you stand on Fenway Sports Group on if you're in, out? Do you want a new set of owners to come in? What are your thoughts on the current ownership status?
I think I've actually, up until the last week, I think I defended them a lot, just because I think a lot of fans weren't happy with the backing that they were giving us. I mean, I was kind of on the other side slightly. I was saying, we didn't really sell a lot of big players last year. I think what we sold Lovren for maybe 13 million. But we still made two signings that were worth, nearly 80 million in Jota and Thiago. Like, so, like, I understand that, like, yeah, with the money they have, they definitely could have given us more backing. But like I said, I was defending them from that point. But in the last week, I've been, pretty much shocked, I suppose. Not really shocked in the sense that, owners are going to do this, because we know a lot of football owners these days, especially owners of bigger clubs, it's more about revenue than anything else. I don't think that's a surprise to people. But, FSG have always presented themselves as being for the fans and supporting the fans, and we've seen them doing the same thing, I suppose, in baseball. In the sense, like, I suppose, like, for the fans, in the sense that, like, there hasn't been a lot of controversial decisions up to this point, apart from maybe, like, not really giving as much financial backing as they can. But there hasn't really been, like, there hasn't been any severe decisions, like, kind of made in relation to kind of maybe Arsenal with their owners, and we've seen it with, I suppose, Spurs as well. There hasn't been that much kind of controversy with FSG up until, like, the last week. From a club standpoint, I know, like I said, fans have kind of been unhappy for a while, but I definitely think at this stage now, the only solution probably is for them to go. I mean, I kind of have to apologize to the FSG out bandwagon that have been there the last few months, because it's just, like, what else can you do? There's no way you can really kind of repair this relationship, and it's the same for all the 6 clubs that were involved in this. For any of their owners that made any contributions towards the Super League, it's a total kind of betrayal like we haven't seen before from owners of the top clubs, and I just think it's going to be so hard to try and repair that relationship. I know, John Henry came out with a very kind of PR heavy apology there during the week, and like, I mean, I'm at the stage now where it's kind of like, yeah, listen, I mean, if you even want to kind of support that apology, give us the 200 million, give us Mbappe, give us Haaland, give us all these players that we've wanted for so long. But even then, it's not going to be enough, because you'll never be able to get that bad taste out of your mouth of the last week. So, yeah, I definitely think there's no coming back for them. Who takes over? That's, we don't know, but I think a lot of fans are kind of under the opinion, like, that yeah, it's time to go.
Adam and I met about 20, 30 minutes ago. And you're spot on. We have so many the same opinions. I agree with you. I mean, I almost had sympathy with them as an American. I was like, oh, I feel like they get a lot of stick because they're an American ownership group. So, like, I kind of back them. They've kept us financially secure. Compare them to our previous owners before them. Like, we're doing great financially. And then this week happened, and now I'm firmly on the other side. And I'm exactly like you. I apologize for ever doubting the FSG out group, because I think they showed they're truly almost nefarious is on a bit extreme, but they're malintentions. And I go back and forth on, like, the shiny toy aspect, where if they were to sign Mbappe and Haaland and change this side for the future with huge investment, would my thoughts on them change? And, I say right now, I'd be principled and I wouldn't back down. I'd still be like, FSG out. But I mean, even seeing Konate come in, it was a bit of like, oh, that's exciting. So it's like, if they're able to get enough shiny toys collected, then maybe they'll do enough to be able to get my support back. But I agree with you that it's almost feels like it's irreparable, because, I mean, where can you go back from now? There was the video from John Henry, but there's a disconnect now. So obviously, as far as I know, there's not at least notable protests outside of Anfield tonight. There was actually a quite warm reception for the team bus that arrived. Would you have liked to see a protest similar to the one that happened yesterday for Arsenal to try and generate more pressure, or are you comfortable with kind of the, I don't know, almost easing off?
I'm between two minds. I think, yeah, it would be. It's always good to kind of to see more support towards a cause like this. That's fan driven. But at the same time, I think the message has already been stamped home. I think fans have already made it clear without protesting that like there has to be a change. I don't think. Well, I'd like to hope that like FSG are not so naive that they think that this is just kind of it's been brushed under the carpet now, and that it's everything is good. Like whether we protest today or whether we don't, I'd like to imagine that they know that the trust from the fans has been totally kind of ripped to shreds. I'm like you said there, I'm delighted that like the team obviously got a warm reception, because this has kind of been talked about the last week, about especially about the reception that they got there against Leeds, and like the abuse was kind of aimed at the players and the members of staff on the coach that came into Ellen Road there on Monday night. And I think it's important to remember, like it's not the club, like it's not the players, it's not the coach, it's the owners, it's one or two people, whoever's in charge, it's these people. Like, so I think that's a huge thing, especially on the next season, because you're going to get like fans from opposition clubs that are going to be like, oh, like Liverpool are this and Arsenal are this or whatever. And it's just important to remember that it's not a club thing, it's not a team thing. No one knew about this. You'd like to hope no one knew about it, and they were as much in the dark as everyone else. So I'd imagine like the reactions we're having now, that all the members of staff that had no idea about this have the same reaction. So still a lot of good people in these clubs. That's the important thing to remember.
I agree with you 100%. I've had to disagree with one of your takes, and I'm almost upset by that fact. I don't mean to reopen fresh wounds, but I mean, we were literally less than a week since the Super League was announced on Sunday night. What were your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on the Super League if it had gone ahead as planned?
It's actually funny. I had done an article for the website that day, or I think it was that morning, and it was just about rumors of the Super League and everything. The same stuff we've been hearing for the last year or two. Like when you're kind of writing it as it is, like as it's a rumor, but like I don't think anyone was really kind of took it seriously. And then like that night, it was like, oh, wow, kind of out of nowhere. It was a bit of a gut punch. I honestly didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't agree with it, but I think the general feeling was like, I don't think I'd ever kind of felt this way as a Liverpool fan, where it's kind of like, oh crap, like we're in, this is monumental. Like this is a change that has like never happened before, like to the club. Since I've been a supporter, like I've never seen such a kind of huge decision that was like, it was only negative, like, and it was only going to affect us negatively. From a supporter standpoint, from a footballing standpoint, obviously, yeah, we would have made billions, but that's like fans aren't in it for that, like, So, I was against it, straight away, because like every other fan, it's kind of it tears away the actual integrity of the club, like everything that like we've been built on, like Division One, like English Premier League, whatever it is, we've always been there with other clubs, along with the European Cup, Champions League. That's always been the backbone of our club, like, and the threat of kind of having that taken away, like, it's just unthinkable. Like, I don't think any fan would have been on board. And I heard one or two things of fans saying it, but it's almost like, oh, I don't know. It's just kind of, even now, it's just kind of unbelievable to think that it actually happened at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a, and the fact they were surprised with the reception too was the craziest part for me, because
Yeah,
it's so difficult for me to understand how they could not have anticipated that fans would not have been behind it. And it just shows a disconnect, between what the owners think the fans want, what the fans actually want. And again, I mean, I agree 100% that it definitely was. It was against the culture of the club. It was just going to change things so radically, and in a way that wasn't even good for football. It was just good for the clubs who could guarantee themselves their places. And the selfish part of me, right? It'd be great if we were in the Super League, because currently we're what, seventh in the table? Yeah, we're currently seventh in the table, and that wouldn't matter. We'd be in the Super League next year. Wouldn't have to worry about those finances. But then again, do you want to play in a league where it's like that, where there are no consequences for finishing poorly. And I don't think I'd want to do that. But obviously, go ahead if you had something to say there.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I was just going to say, like what you said there about kind of being in a position where you can't get Champions League football, but knowing that you're going to be in this thing next season anyway. I mean, that's kind of the position like that, like a team like Spurs and Arsenal were in, where it was like how we rarely get European football anymore, and even like Spurs fans and Arsenal fans are like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. So even if it means that we might actually have a chance of just playing among the biggest teams again, we still don't want that. I think that kind of nails the message home. Like even teams, fans who support teams that have had little involvement in Europe in the last couple of years are against it. Yeah, that just kind of hammered it home, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, it's a case of if there's no stakes for what Pep Guardiola said was really spot on a few weeks back, or not a few weeks back. It feels like it's been weeks since the Super League was announced. But when he said that, I believe it was before the Villa match, he said that he doesn't want to play it's not a sport if there are no consequences when you lose. And I agree. I want there to be stakes because after the Leeds match on Monday, I don't know how you felt about it. I almost felt like it was a bit soulless. Like it was like I didn't care about the result as much as I would usually because what happens if we lose? We're just in the Super League next year. I mean, at that point, there were still questions that if we were going to be in the Premier League next year. So I think this was a great move to get out, and it's going to give me at least a reason to root for the side. But obviously, there's a lot riding on this match. Liverpool currently in 7th place, 2 points behind West Ham and Chelsea, who are joint in 4th place and level on points with Spurs, who have played a match in hand. It seems like almost like a dumb question, but how important is this match? I'm assuming this is as much of a must-win as exists in the final 6 Premier League games this season.
Yeah, like given the kind of games that we have left, we still have to play United again. That's, I think, more daunting than it's ever been in years, just given the form that we're in. And I know United aren't kind of the most consistent at the moment either. But yeah, just playing United at the moment, I think, is a really daunting task. And then you look at the games, obviously, that we have left. They're games that we're well capable of winning. But in regards to the importance of today's game, it's just absolutely massive because of the result, especially against Leeds. I don't really think we can put the result down to Leeds down to the news of the Super League, because Liverpool did have a good first half. Like the good first half an hour, 45 minutes against Leeds were great. And it's a game that we should have put to bed in the first half. So, again, you're coming from a result where you're not getting the 3 points. It just makes the next game even more important. And yeah, it's a battle that we haven't been in years. Like a top 4 battle is different from a battling for the league title, because chances are in the last couple of years, the only team you're battling against is City. You haven't really got much competition, whereas now you're trying to contend with, okay, fair enough, West Ham and Chelsea are in those positions now at the moment, and Leicester, so you're competing with those teams, but you still have Spurs there, like you mentioned, Everton. There's still a lot of teams that mathematically at the end of the season could be going to the Champions League, and yeah, it's going to be a proper dogfight. And I think the mentality of the Liverpool team, it looks in the last 2 months, it's kind of like they look like a bunch of guys who are just kind of saying, please God, let this season be over. Just have this season be over tomorrow. And I know they understand the importance of getting top 4, but it's with everything that's happened this year, with all the injuries, it's just, I think for fans as well, I'm under the opinion, yeah, Christ, just have it end. Yeah, great. Let's get Champions League, hopefully, but yeah, I just think, the players need to go into the next, 4 or 5 games and just remember what's at stake, because we're not in the Super League next season. That's gone now.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be kind of watching next season being like, oh, there's no Super League, but oh no, we're in the Europa League. So, it's...
Exactly. I mean, I 100% agree that this season's been painful. And if we can go into next season with almost no consequences, like we're in the Champions League, still in the Premier League, which amazingly enough was a doubt because of the Super League, then I'm over the moon. So if making top four would, I mean, it wouldn't make this a 10 out of 10 season, obviously, because we're defending Premier League champions and we had this big of a fall off. But I would be absolutely ecstatic going into next year. But I mean, our schedule is really light, honestly. Our toughest match after this one is Manchester United, which I believe is next weekend, or maybe I think it is next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah.
That's gonna be a great match, I think, and it's gonna be a tough one because they're a very good side right now. But I think that this is as important a result and important as matches as we've had. It's cliche, but it's gonna be 6 finals. And as we wrap up this stream here, about half an hour from kickoff, your last thoughts on the lineup, last thoughts on the match as we get ready for kickoff.
Just before I go on to that, I'm just noticing a comment here. I think someone's trying to throw me off and see how good I am at speaking Irish. Tall gamot to erectile dysfunction. Oh my god. That's the most Irish I know, so I'm glad that he asked that. But no, yeah, I think the lineup again, it's so interesting. You mentioned it earlier about like a lot of teams that are going to be playing us, especially with the games that we have in the next couple of weeks. They're teams that, love playing the low blocks, and they know that's how they're going to stop us. So I think playing the top four, or the front four, it's not an accident. I don't think it's just Liverpool saying let's throw the kitchen sink or anything. I think it's a case of you need a much more creative player in midfield. If Thiago's going to be playing the 6, he can't do that. So it's going to have to be someone else. If Gini's spending a lot of time defending as well, that player's going to have to be Firmino. So if he does happen to be playing in a more midfield role, I think that is the best way of trying to break down a team like that. I've kind of, last season when people asked me predictions and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, of course we're gonna win. Well, even if it's 0-0 90th minute, we're gonna scrape a goal 94th minute. But which seems so long ago now when you think of it. But now I'm kind of at the stage where I don't want to be giving too kind of confident predictions, but I think that we will come out with a win today. And Jesus, let's God hope that we can just actually kind of take the momentum into the last few games, and it's not a case of we win at Newcastle today and then we go to play Manchester United and we're getting beaten again. I think that's the huge thing about this, is just keeping consistency, because teams around us, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same position. We're not in a case where Chelsea's running away with it, West Ham. Everyone's dropping points every second week. We just have to be the team that doesn't do it for the next 5 weeks and hope that the rest of them keep doing that.
Score prediction,
I'm going to say 2-1 Liverpool.
I think that's the most common score prediction. No, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not really going to keep a clean sheet, not going to destroy them with a lot of goals. So I think 2-1 is, I'm going to agree with you. It's been a stream of full agreement from me. So I'm going to continue that right to you.
I couldn't have a better first stream than just having someone that agrees with. Next time we come on, it's just going to be no, Adam, you're just totally wrong. You're totally wrong.
We'll hope it's that way. But I mean, your first stream, Adam, so thank you very much for joining us on the channel. Would love to have you on some more next few weeks as we gear towards the summer and into next season, when hopefully fans will be back, Virgil will be back, and our happiness will be back when the big man returns.
That's all. Listen, mate, thanks very much for having me on.
Of course. Let's wrap up the stream right here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back after the match to react, hopefully, in adulation and excitement rather than the depression we've usually been reacting with in the last few weeks. But this has been a stream from the LFC Transfer. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Get involved with us there. We'll be back after the match, as I mentioned. And for myself, Jack, and Adam, this has been the LFC Transfer.